is time to say goodbye to quite a lot of books. Hello everyone, welcome back to A Fictional Escapist. My name is Kris, and today's video is an unhaul. Rachel and I are moving in like 2 weeks at the time you're watching this video, and I need to get rid of a bunch of books. I've been collecting books to unhaul for the last 12 months. While I've been filling up the shelves behind me, essentially, I've been trying to I would say one for one. That has not happened. There is not like 100 books in this unhaul, but there are quite a few, and all of them have reasons for being unhauled. So, without any further ado, because there are so many, let's just start getting rid of some stuff. So, first one is Under the Dome. I am very interested in reading this book, but this copy is beat up, and it needs to go in the bin. Unfortunately, this is not in a condition where it can be donated. This one will actually have to be thrown out. In the recycling, can someone tell me if you can recycle old books? I will just Google it. I'm sure you can, it's paper. Am I just showing how dumb I am on this screen? Good, we started off good. The next one I'm getting rid of is a hot take, and that is Illborn by Daniel T. Jackson. This one did not work for me for a few reasons, and I do not appreciate the things that the author has done to people who have not enjoyed his story. I think the reaction to people not liking it as much has been rather childish, so I will not be continuing on with this series. Sorry, Daniel T. Jackson, I'm glad that other people enjoyed your work, but unfortunately you were a child about it. Next two I'm getting rid of is Forest Mage and also Shaman's Crossing. This is by Robin Hobb. The reason I'm getting rid of these two is because I forgot I already owned them, and I like those copies. Well, actually, to be fair, I like these copies better, but the other copies match the set that is currently out in the living room. So those two will be donated. The next one I've got is Imaginary Friend. This is by Stephen Chbosky. I'm sorry if I pronounced it incorrectly. So with this one, I read the Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig last year, and I did not enjoy it. I ended up DNFing it. It's the only recent DNF that I can think of in years, and I've heard that this book has the same themes. So if you like the Book of Accidents by Chuck Wendig, you will like this one. I did not like the Book of Accidents, therefore this one is going to be donated as well. The next one that I'm going to be donating is She Who Became the Sun. This is by Shelley Parker Chan. I actually really enjoyed this book and the historical fiction fantasy side of it. I don't think anyone is likable in here, but I had a good time. I would like to get this duology when it comes out. I'm hoping that a beautiful special edition will come out, but it's also not something I'm going to read again. So I will read the second one when it comes out, but I'm not going to revisit She Who Became the Sun. So this one is going to be donated, and I hope to get my hands on a lovely duology edition once that second book comes out. I've then got a couple of picture books that are going to be donated. These are adult picture books, I believe, and they were gifted to me by a friend. They were nice coffee table books, but I never look at them anymore. This is Octopus and Family by Annabelle Lee, and also Super Army Heroes by Annabelle Lee, and it says this book is not for kids. So, hopefully the second-hand shop does not put them in the children's section after seeing the pictures on the front. That will suck for them. I have a couple of Bryce Courtney books that I'm getting rid of. I've only read Sylvia by Bryce Courtney, and I really enjoyed it, and I picked up another one. I'm not sure what the name was. It wasn't one of these three a little while ago, and it didn't vibe with me, so I figured that maybe Bryce Courtney is unfortunately a one-shot wonder for me as a reader, but that's okay. I'm going to be donating The Potato Factory, The Family Frying Pan, and The Power of One. I actually picked these up at a donation bin myself, so hopefully someone else can enjoy those. The next couple I've got to get rid of come with a story. Well, comes with a weird feeling. So the first one is Disobedience by Naomi Alderman, which is a sapphic historical contemporary novel, and I watched the movie. I think Rachel Weisz and Rachel McAdams did a fantastic job of that. And the second one is The Danish Girl. This is by David Erbshoff. So, coming out as transgender, I identified with the lesbian community for a really long time. For 10 years of my life, it was a big part of my personality. I, in that time, collected quite a few sapphic novels and read them and watched sapphic, movies and TV shows. And it's at the point now where I still very much identify with that part of the LGBTQIA plus community because I lived it for 10 years, but it's a little bit weird for me to do so as now presenting as, you know, a male in society. So I watched the movie and I never went back to read the book, and I haven't even watched the movie of the Danish girl. But weird feelings, weird vibes for me personally. So they're going to go be donated, unfortunately. The next one I have is I've got a bunch from James Patterson. I read Along Came a Spider a little while ago. This is the Alex Cross novels. It's just sort of thriller, mystery, crime books. There's about 100 of them in this series. I actually don't know how many there are. I enjoyed it. I just didn't ever continue on with the series. I went through a part of my life where I was mainly reading crime and thriller, and I do enjoy those books and those novels, but I really haven't been gravitating towards them in the last few years. So that one is going. I've also got Zoo by James Patterson that is going, and Step on a Crack by James Patterson and Michael Ludwig that is also being donated. I had a video just recently where I talked about 8 series that I own that people didn't talk about on this platform, and I was talking about Sarah Douglas and one of the series that I own of hers, the Crucible trilogy, which I still do want to read. And in that video I mentioned that there was a series that I couldn't remember the name of that I didn't like very much, and that was the Axis trilogy. So these are all going to be donated. I've got Battle Axe, I think that's the first one, Enchanter, and Starman. These were a little bit outside of my reach, but I do genuinely like Sarah Douglas's writing. I've enjoyed a quartet of hers called The Troy Game, so I'm willing to give her another chance. But those 3 will be being donated. Next up on the donation pile is Nosferatu by Joe Hill. For those of you who don't know, Joe Hill is Stephen King's son. Again, had a very good time with this book. I gave it, I think, a 3.5. I'm never going to read it again. So I had a good time. I listened to it on audio. Highly recommend the audio. But because I'm not going to read it again or gravitate towards it, it didn't knock my socks off, I will be donating this one. The next series that I'm getting rid of, and I genuinely really enjoyed this series. It was one of my favorite reads of 2021, but the set doesn't match, and if I buy them again, because I think I will reread these again physically one day, I want the set to match and hopefully find some sort of edition that is beautiful and matching on the shelves. And this is a Hannibal series by Robert Harris. So this starts off with Red Dragon, followed by Silence of the Lambs, and then we have Hannibal and Hannibal Rising. I don't reread very often, but I would probably reread these. These were very, very good. The audiobooks were also very, very good. And one of these books, I remember, I think it was Hannibal. Yeah, it must have been Hannibal. I had gotten off the train. I normally read physically on the train. I don't listen to audiobooks, but then from the drive to the train station to home, I would listen to the audiobook. But Hannibal had me so captured that I didn't read physically while I was listening to it. I was just listening to that book. And I wouldn't leave the car park of the train station until it finished, and I'm pretty sure my face was like when I was listening to it, and people like coming past, it was peak hour, and being like, what is this dude doing in the car? I enjoyed it. It shocked me, genuinely shocked at the end of Hannibal. Alright, moving on from there, we've got a couple of Matthew Rileys that I'm getting rid of. I've got 7 Ancient Wonders. I'm getting rid of this one because I have a second copy in a matching set, and that one does not match anything, so it is being donated. And the second one is Temple by Matthew Riley. This was not my favourite standalone. It was fine, but yeah, just not my favourite, and I hope that somebody else who likes these sort of action-packed novels will pick it up and have a good time. Moving on from that, I am donating To Paradise by Hanya Yanagihara. I am not a huge contemporary reader. I'm interested in A Little Life, not enough that I've picked it up and committed to 1,000 pages. I read the first chapter of To Paradise. The writing is beautiful, it is, but I do not think that this book is going to work for me, and it is quite the commitment, so I'm going to donate that one. Hanya Yanagihara is quite a well-loved author in the contemporary scene, so I'm hoping that someone will pick them up and enjoy that book more than my shelf will, not having it. Okay. The next one is another hot take, and I apologise to the lovers of this series. I thought it was fine, but it was not my favourite, and I gave it to my father-in-law, and he also said it was fine, but it was not his favourite. So I am going to be getting rid of these and donating them. My work recently has put in a give one, take one library situation. So these are going to go to there just to try and get some more fantasy on those shelves. And this is Kings of the Wild and Bloody Rose. These were... I haven't read Bloody Rose, so I don't know. Kings of the Wild was too predictable for me, and it followed the same formula every 100 pages or so, and it just got predictable and annoying. I actually really loved Moog, the wizard, in this series, and he was my favorite. This book, sorry, he was my favorite. And if I knew that I was going into this book and just reading a tale about Moog, I would absolutely pick it up, but I don't think that's the case. So those are going to the work library before I move on from that job, so they can have some more fantasy. Next one I'm getting rid of is the Dosadai Experiment by Frank Herbert. I read Dune. I think that is the end of my Frank Herbert journey. Frank Herbert wasn't the nicest person to the LGBTQIA+ community, and yeah, I don't have very much interest in continuing on with that. The next one I'm getting rid of is the Black Tongue Thief. This is by Christopher Bullman. I have heard this is quite tongue-in-cheek, quite immature fantasy. My father-in-law read this one, gave it to me, said he didn't want it back, and I have very little interest in reading it. So that will probably be donated to work as well, just so there's some stuff in there. Alright, no one's shocked. I am giving Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas away. I did a vlog where I read this one knowing I wouldn't enjoy it very much. It was a fun vlog, it was an interesting experience. I will never read this again, and I'm not going back to read the rest of the series, so that one can also go. We are nearly at the end, my friends. The next two, I've got Jack Reacher book 1 and 2. This is Die Trying and The Killing Floor. I listened to Jack Reacher book 1, Die Trying. Really enjoyed it. I did not enjoy the narrator. He's the one narrator that I don't vibe with, and when I hear his voice I'm like, ugh, ugh. But you know what, that's fine. Everyone has different tastes. However, I think the person who narrated it, I can't remember, I'll put the name on the screen, gave a good voice to this main character. So if I pick this series up again, and I've got no plans to really chuck in another Lee Child book as of, you know, my next year or so of reading, I will probably continue on with the audio. I have listened to more books read by this narrator. I'm getting used to it. But because in my head now that is the voice of Jack Reacher, I don't know that reading it physically is going to have the same sort of magic. Even though I didn't vibe with the narration, does that make any sense to anyone? Not me, but that book is going in the donation pile. The next one that I'm getting rid of is Ender's Game by Orson Scott Card. Just not a great author. Has some views I don't agree with, and some views that hurt people in my own community. I don't want to even put it on the screen for very long. I cannot in good faith read that, unfortunately. So that is going to be donated, and maybe someone else can pick it up and, you know, enjoy it. But I cannot do that knowing some of the views that this author has. The next two, I don't know if I'm going to get shafted off this platform, but that is Rebels Creed. That is Breach of Peace and Rebels Creed by Daniel Green. I'm very thankful to Mr. Green for introducing me to BookTube and this platform. I think he does some good work, and I appreciate what he has done for this community. I did not enjoy Breach of Peace at all. I thought the opening scene was the best part. It was ballsy. I thought, cool, we're going into a pretty cool novella here, but it just fell really short for me, and the way that it was marketed, I didn't appreciate. So there's that. That one's going, and it's left a bit of a sour taste in my mouth, so I won't be picking up Rebels Creed. I am not saying I'll never read a Daniel Green book again, but I'm interested in seeing him develop as an author, and I will probably give his new series a go on ebook. But if that doesn't work for me, then maybe Mr. Green is not an author for me. The next one I'm getting rid of, we've got two left, is Lightbringer. This is by Brent Weeks. This is because this copy is a little bit damaged. I am interested in this series, but I have heard the first 3 books are good and the last 2 aren't. And I'm like, do I want to commit to a 5-book series? I'm not a DNFer, so even if I don't like a book, I will generally continue on with it and finish it to give myself the whole picture. That being said, I really did enjoy the Night Angel trilogy, so I'm interested in the series. This one's a bit banged up. I will probably get another copy whenever that series comes on my radar again. The last one I'm getting rid of is Ruination. This is by Anthony Reynolds. There is nothing wrong with this book except that it was predictable AF, in my opinion. I liked this a lot, and I was too impatient to wait for the hardcover that doesn't come out in Australia until next year. So I'm going to donate this one. I think a lot of people, particularly people new to the fantasy genre, will love this because I want the hardcover. I really do. It's so beautiful. So when that comes out in Australia, I will likely be picking up the hardcover and hope that the series continues because it was genuinely enjoyable and pulled me out of a reading slump. So thank you, Anthony Reynolds. Those are the books that I'm getting rid of. Are you surprised at any of the hot takes and books that I didn't enjoy or are getting rid of for one reason or another? Let me know in the comments down below. If you like the content, give it one of those. If you want to see more of it, click subscribe at your will. I'll catch you in the next video. Ciao.